Hey there, coaches. I'm Rich Prado, owner of Play in School and host of Travel Ball Talk, where I talk to travel ball coaches from the best organizations about the current and future state of travel baseball. Today's call features Keith Wahl, Executive Director of Complete Game Ministries. In addition to CGM, Wahl is currently the Assistant Athletic Director, Head Baseball Coach, and Softball Coach at Valor Christian Academy in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Our call gets into the topics of cooperative relationships between the travel coach and high school coach. We also take a deep dive into what Complete Game Ministries is and the impact they are having on the baseball community. I hope you enjoy this episode of Travel Ball Talk. All right, welcome back to another episode of Travel Ball Talk. On today's call, we're heading back to my second favorite state in the nation, Colorado, to talk to Keith Wahl. Keith is a longtime travel ball guy out in Colorado, and he is currently head coach and assistant athletic director at Valor High School. If you're from Colorado, you may be familiar with Valor. We'll talk about Valor a little bit early in a few minutes. He's also the head of Complete Game Ministries, and he's the author of a book that I have sitting in front of me called Wellcoached. Keith, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Colorado. I'm sad to hear it's your second favorite, but it's my favorite, so it's all good.
Well, Virginia is obviously the best state in the entire country. But I've probably mentioned on the show before, but if not, I can bore the listeners one more time that I actually spent 3 summers out in Colorado. So it is near and dear to my heart. But I only love Colorado during the summertime. I don't like it when there's snow on the ground. I like it when the snow is melting, which fills up those whitewater rivers that I used to run when I was out there.
Yes.
So
the snow complicates spring baseball, that's for sure. But there's no better place to spend a summer or a fall than here.
I'm telling you, the word on the street back in the day when I was there that people used to come for the winter, so they'd come for the skiing, but they'd stay for the summer.
Sure.
Because they realized right away the secret is out on these western states how beautiful summertime is. You know, because the reality is in the winter, you're basically going to ski or you're going to be stuck indoors. And in the summer, the number of activities is countless, and everybody's outside doing something.
Keep telling people that, because I won't tell them about my plan this year to have the kids out on the field in November, December, when the average temp is still 55, no humidity, and beautiful. So just keep telling yourself that you have to go inside. Keep telling yourself that, and that'll keep real estate prices about where they are instead of to peak them again.
No humidity was the absolute key. If you can handle the altitude, which is a real thing. I think people who haven't felt real altitude underestimate it. It's a big deal.
Agreed.
It would literally crush me just going up a flight of stairs. So, well, Keith, let's get into a little bit of baseball talk. It's called Travel Ball Talk. We talk about baseball here, and I think the short version is that you're a longtime high school guy, and you spent some time in the travel ball world, and now you're back to kind of a full-time high school role. So why don't you kind of paint a picture and fill in the blanks in that story, and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and kind of what you're up to these days.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I just want to thank you for having me on the podcast, and really looking forward to sharing all that we have going on here. So back in 2001, I got my first head coach position at Mountain Vista High School, which is a public school here in the Highlands Ranch area. Powerhouse program now, and we were able to grow that thing like a weed. It was a lot of fun to be a part of. We had some great kids come through. We took the program into a league championship level arguably the best league in the state of Colorado still to this day. Back in 06 and 07, we were state runner-up in 06, and we had an incredible run there. And then in 07, transitioned over here to Valor Christian High School as it was opening. Had a chance to open up a program with Christ as the cornerstone, and was really excited about the opportunity to continue to grow not only my own faith, but the faith of others through the game of baseball. And was here for 9 years. Took a brief stint out of state as an athletic director, and then have come back now as head baseball, head softball, and assistant athletic director here at Valor. But like you mentioned, or made mention of, during the course of my time as a head high school coach, the cool part about Colorado is that there aren't restrictive rules in the off season. So I had the opportunity to dabble in club baseball and travel ball all the way back to 2011. And we would actually partner with an organization called Hit Streak, myself and another high school coach. His name's John Cronick, and he's with the Slammers organization now. We took our programs, kind of combined them together and coached a bunch together, and struck up a great friendship in that world. And then I dabbled in a bunch of different organizations, Hit Streak, and then Slammers, and then Team Colorado, which became this collaborative high school coach kind of model, which was really fun to be a part of. And then now getting a chance to see USA Prime kind of put their flag in the ground a little bit in the area. And I've done all I can to just continue to build great relationships with all, and just try to, help our kids, as many of our kids, get travel opportunities in the summers, falls I can. Because as a high school coach, you're limited to what you can offer just one program, and having the opportunity to branch out and get to know a lot of people has been probably the most redeeming part of the work that I've done on the baseball field.
That's good stuff. I want to kind of expand on a piece, and we're probably going to talk about this for a few minutes here. So in my research, in actually talking to one of your friends, what I found out was that back in the day, the high school coaches basically kept their guys together all fall.
Yep.
Kind of call it year round, if you will, which meant that there was a time, not too distant past, in Colorado where travel ball really wasn't that big a deal because the kids stayed with their high school for good or for bad.
Yep.
So you kind of came in here and had the forethought, the vision to recognize that travel ball had kind of some upside to the players. How did you originally kind of understand that coexisting between the high school and the travel organization was going to be a benefit for the player, and just kind of roll with that for a little bit? Yeah.
So I can remember the class. It was our 2007 class at Mountain Vista. We had 6 or 7 kids who had legitimate opportunities to move on to the next level. One of which, landed a scholarship offer at University of Southern California. Other guys who went to high-level junior colleges. We had a good group of 6 or 7 guys, and the Slammers organization, which at the time, they're not. It's funny, right? When people start, they aren't what they were, or they are what they are now. Like, Slammers is this incredible group who does so many great things for kids in the area now. But back then it was like, well, who are they? What are they doing? And like you mentioned, travel ball it was not a thing. It was really dominated by the high schools. And I had coached that group the summer before within the high school. And I was looking at myself, and I was looking at the landscape going, you know what? I need to let these guys go and experience something bigger and something different. And it was going to be good for their development. And the key was that the communication with Slammers was such that I was like, look, can you keep these 6 guys together for me so that they can still have a sense of community and team, which is the most important thing to me, to build throughout the game of baseball. And they were like, absolutely, no problem. So they went off for the summertime and played and had a great experience while I was coaching a group of our high school kids. And we were able to develop a team that competed. And I mean, we lost to the eventual state champion in Rocky Mountain the next year. And I was like, you know what? That was the right thing to do for everybody. And all we've tried to do since coming over here to Valor is just really replicate that same thing. We don't actually offer any teams during the summertime. We encourage our guys to go get whatever experience they possibly can. And by the opportunity to partner with parents in that way and partner with the families, we create such a great level of peace and love and advocacy in our program for every one of the kids. It just ends up being the right fit. It's the right fit for everyone in our program as we see it.
Yeah, you know, when that last sentence you said, what popped into my head for some reason was, you know, you think about the high school program and the travel program when they're not on the same page. Has this the visual it gave me was when you get two parents who are bickering at each other. You know, think about the stress that puts on a kid, and when you have a travel ball and high school coach that are not cooperative, that are not communicating, that are not on the same page. Think about the stress that puts on the kid and their family, right? Like,
I think it's a great picture.
Like that's what, as you were describing that's what popped into my head, because honestly, that's the scenario I've seen, and the worst thing that can happen in this world is lack of communication. Because if the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, that's when things get hairy. You know, that's when the kid throws too many pitches, right? Because they weren't confident enough to speak up for themselves, and there wasn't a good enough level of communication between the high school coach, who may have just thrown the guy, and the travel coach who wants to throw the guy, right? So things like that. That was the picture in my head, was some bickering parents, or the parents who don't bicker. They communicate and keep things stress-free. By the way, take a pause here, because I do want to mention, since we've brought up the Team Slammers several times already, if folks who are listening want to learn more about the Slammers, I interviewed the coach who handles most of their communication and recruiting activities, and that's Byron Embry, and he's out of the Slammers facility that I guess is north of Denver. But you can find that, I think, just go to playinschool.com/Embry. And that was you know what? He's a fascinating guy. I really enjoyed that conversation. But yeah, we had Byron on kind of probably 10 or 15 episodes ago. So one thing I wanted to back up and point out to folks who may have heard this, and they maybe their kind of their spidey senses went off. You say you're coaching baseball and softball. How are you at two places at one time?
Right. Yeah. So we are actually in a unique position here in the state of Colorado. We're one of 7 states that offers softball in the fall. So baseball in the spring, softball in the fall, they're not competing during the same season. And so I get the opportunity, at the end of the day, it's really amazing when you do the math of it. Between the baseball program and the softball program, I get a chance to impact about 10% of the student body through those two programs, and get to grow all those young men and women, both in their games, but also in faith. So it's a really blessed and really great position to be in.
That's pretty cool. Because definitely when you said that the first time to me, I was like, wait, the math doesn't add up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe it's just good scheduling or something. You win every other game to the other program, but that's pretty cool. Which brings up another point. You know, my audience is mostly male, probably 99% male, because it's the baseball world. But some of you guys out there who are coaching, if you're not finding the exact fit you're looking for, I highly recommend you explore the softball world. There are opportunities over there for coaching, and I'm seeing it at the highest levels, at the highest levels of college softball, where very experienced baseball coaches are making the transition. So it's a pretty cool thing to hear that you're doing it at Valor, and maybe this conversation will spark somebody's interest, and they can do a little research themselves. So,
well, add to that, Rich. I mean, look at Matt Lyle from the Hitting Vault and all the things that he's doing.
Great example.
He went to South Carolina and was their hitting coach, and then bounced over to Mizzou, and now he's with the White Sox. And so I think we're seeing more. There are incredible differences. The speed of softball is extraordinary, but there are a lot of similarities, and I think there are great things for baseball coaches to explore in the softball world as well.
100%. Okay, well, listen, I wanna shift gears. I know what is kind of nearest and dearest to your heart, and I wanna talk about it, and that's Complete Game Ministries. And within that, the scope of that conversation, I'm sure you'll bring up Wellcoached, which again is, I've got a copy of that book right in front of me. So I think Complete Game Ministries describes what Complete Game Ministries is and does. But since I have you on the line and we have as much time as I want to go, why don't you go ahead and give us the full rundown of what exactly Complete Game Ministries is and what it does.
Yeah. So, I think, first of all, the name does say a lot, and it really boils down to completing the game for everybody, and that is to bring in the spiritual into the physical, to connect the teachings of Jesus to the game of baseball. And that's our tagline. It's the gospel of Jesus in the language of baseball. And we exist to unite, encourage, and resource the baseball community that's trying to serve in the ministry of Jesus Christ. And we're trying to help people across the country know that they can have the opportunity to worship through the game. What we've seen, and I know everybody has seen this, the youth sports culture has taken over the weekend, and it takes over Sundays. And what does that mean? It means less people get a chance to go to church. And I think for some people, there's a guilt attached to that, and I think that's unfortunate, because I think God created us all with incredible gifts. He created us all with unique talents, and if that means we get to worship on a baseball field, whether that be like I consider my greatest form of worship to be coaching young people, and it'd be a shame for me to feel guilty about expressing that gift because I'm doing it on a Sunday and I'm not in church that day. Well, what I'm trying to accomplish through Complete Game Ministries is we're really trying to focus on the content that we create. So the book is a piece of content. The writing of Bottom of the Ninth, the email devotional that I send out, a baseball guy's Bible guide is a piece of content. I've been working on a continual series that I've been working on. Those are all things that we want people to be able to consume, read, look at while they're in the stands on a weekend watching their son play the game of baseball, and to bring God and church into the game. One of the greatest compliments I ever heard in my coaching was one of our players who graduated from Valor this year. He talked about the idea of the baseball field being his church. And having watched that young man start Bible studies, having watched him lead people spiritually, it's real. And there's not a separation that once you go to the church walls, that's when church actually begins. Church is everywhere, man. The church itself is a opportunity to grow in leadership. Basically, the pastor is trying to encourage you to go live out the next 6 days within the teachings of Jesus, not just to come and consume on the one Sunday. So we've had the opportunity to really see this whole thing grow, both in just visibility and understanding, but then also in influence. But I can talk more about the influence part here in a second, but I want to let you interject if you got some thoughts or questions.
Yeah, I do. Well, I'll interject when, probably nearly 15 years ago when I was coaching like a 14, 15U team, Sunday lineup was tough sometimes because we had a bunch of families that would go to would go to, they didn't want to miss church. And I used to tell them, I go, guys, you can pray here, but I know that you can't swing the bat in your church. So
That's right.
I think you probably kind of at some point in time had a similar feeling where, you know, the field can be both baseball field and can be church simultaneously.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a simple question that can get complicated, and the question is how. How are you doing these things? How are you growing the impact that you're having beyond the, you know, call it 20 guys over at on the Valor baseball team?
Yeah. So one of the things we started in this area. Not to say we were the first, we certainly weren't, or not to say we were the one who created this idea. But back in 2012, I sat with Brian Bond, who was my assistant coach at the time. He's the athletic director here at Valor now. Sat with a gentleman named Justin Dillard, who started Complete Game Ministries back in 2010, 2011. And we said, look, you know, I'm watching our football team here. They go to the 50-yard line to pray with the other team, and everybody knows to do it. And I said, you know what? In the baseball culture, we do the handshake at the end, but nobody knows where to go in order to pray. And so we were like, look, let's start this concept of around the mound, and let's invite the other team to pray with us around the mound after the game. And what we've seen is an incredible influx of willingness and desire for other teams to pray with us. But then what we've also seen in this area is youth teams take that same idea. Other high schools take that same idea. And we've seen a real incredible growth in this area. The East Coast Sox, and I know you talked to Eric Dubose.
I did.
He's a fantastic man. I love that guy. The East Coast Sox pray everywhere, and they've got what feels like hundreds of teams in the South praying everywhere. This last week, I had a friend, tweet at me and show me that the NorCal team, they prayed with a group, and it was really cool because 2 summers ago when I was coaching for Slammers, we had prayed with that NorCal team, and I felt like it was kind of a seed that got planted.
Yeah.
So everywhere you go, you're starting to see people praying around the mound after games. And I just love that concept and want to see that continue to flourish, not because I can pat myself on the back, but because people everywhere are using the game as worship, and they're using the opportunity after the game to connect with one another and pray with one another after the game. So that's one area of influence that we've seen. And it's been really gratifying and really fun.
Not to drop names, but Rob Bruno was also on the call with us early on. So it sounds like we run in similar circles, Keith.
It certainly does.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like the baseball culture, the pregame baseball culture is down the line, and the quick Our Father, and what you've done, and that's like we're gonna do our prayer and then we're gonna go kick your butt. That's right. We're getting ready for battle. What it seems like you've done, and not necessarily you've done on your own, but what this movement is in my head is you've almost you've bookended it, right? We started the game this way. We went into battle, and win, lose, or draw, we're gonna come together at the end. And it sounds like in some circumstances you're coming together with your competitor, with that guy that you just beat or just lost to, and that's pretty powerful. So
let me
go ahead.
Go. Rich, let me build on this bookend idea because I'm about 3 weeks fresh off of heading. I was back in the Dominican Republic in the early part of June on a mission trip with the Valor baseball team through our Valor Discovery program, which is just one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. And we had the opportunity while we were down there to you play other Dominican teams. Like you go to a village, you go to these other inner city places down there and you play. Well, one of the things that they do to bookend this idea is you go to the field and you do a pregame high five with all the with the other team. So you pregame high five and you pray around the mound afterwards. And that's something that you're going to see me really try to push in our program and push in the area. And I think it's going to be uncomfortable. I think that's hard because, like you said, you use the battle mentality.
Yeah.
But I think the preposition of competition is important. Are we competing against or are we competing with the opponent?
Sure.
And I really go for competing with. The against idea and, trying to squish your opponent and all that, I think it draws out too much negativity and it really limits your ability to connect. But if we're competing with and we're trying to draw out the best competition, the best in the ability of the other person, I think that's where life is really going to be had on the baseball field, on the softball field, and everywhere. So you're going to see us continue to try to bookend this thing where we're going to seek a pregame high five with the opponent, say, hey, we want the best from you, and we want our best so that we can have this incredible competition. We're going to pray after the game together. We're going to connect, but let's connect more than we separate.
That's super powerful, the with versus against. You're switching out one word. I want to give a shout out to Joe Ferraro with 1% Better. And if you listen to Joe's podcast, he is super intentional with his choice of words. I try to be, but Joe's about 1,000 times smarter than I am. So he has a better command of the English language. But that, wow, what a change substituting that one word with versus against can make. That's really cool. So I'll make an admission. I don't go to church. I haven't been to church since I was a child. But I talk to my wife about it quite frequently. In 2019, where I feel like we are missing the boat. The world's gotten so much more connected, but as well as we feel like we're connected, what we've done is almost lost this sense of community. And when I talk to my wife about church, for me, it's like, the peace I feel is the connection to the neighborhood, to the, to the folks down the street, to the people in the community. And I just feel like, if you can high five your opponent before the game and circle up afterwards, I gotta think that there's this feeling of community just rolling through the stadium. But that's the word that really sticks out to me when I'm talking to my wife and talking about the idea of returning to church. That's for me, that's the motivation. What do you think about this concept of community?
Yeah, well, we've labored for so long under this idea that the church is a building with four walls around it. We're the church, and that's not my phrasing. That's a pastor named Francis Chan out of California, who's widely known, world renowned, and we are the church. So this is the concept that when you go back from the Old Testament into the New Testament, when the Old Testament was the tabernacle, it was the temple. That's where you went to worship God because that's where God resided. When Jesus came, he flipped the whole thing around, and now Jesus resides in each one of us. We are the church. We are the temple. And wherever we go, that's where his goodness flows. It doesn't only flow in the four walls of a building. That's not to say churches should shut their doors. We need the church. We need that place to connect. We need that place to get leadership training. But we should be the church wherever we go. And that's the part that I think we all that we miss. And I've missed that myself, where in relationship with others, we should be loving God, loving others as we want to ourselves be loved. And that is in relationship to one another. That's deep connection. That's deep community. And not looking for a building or an organization to do that for us. We are the ones in charge of the church, the temple, because it's us. So I think we have the opportunity to build incredible community. And I mean, what better place to do it than on a baseball field? I mean, what better place to do it than with other people with common interests? And that's where we continue to peck away and just grow this thing so that people understand that they can have a spiritual connection on the field.
Colorado doesn't come to mind when I think about the Bible Belt. Right? But in my dealings, there's another organization out there. It's a travel organization that is faith-based, that's based in the Denver area. You probably know it. You're probably friends with these people. I'm trying to find the name of it, but it seems
it's Rich. It's called Game Day.
That's it. That's it.
Brian and I helped to start that back in 2012, 13, 14. We were involved in that as it got going. Okay. And then just as life happened and as Valor grew, and I mean we had to take a step back from our involvement there, but that's another travel club organization that we've had a finger in and have enjoyed watching it grow. And they have a beautiful facility, both their field, and I know they're planning on growing that to a couple more fields, and the indoor bubble that they have over there. It's a great spot. It's a great spot to go. So
I've been on their website, and they seem to put together some tremendous content. I was trying to find the website again. Let's see. Looks like
roadtogameday.com.
Road to Game Day. That's it. That was kind of a long preface to the question about is Colorado, maybe the new Bible Belt, or have you felt some pushback, maybe against the teams that you're playing against, or is it pretty accepting when you roll in and you want to circle up after a ball game? How's the reception?
I think I think that's a cool question. You're right in that, people don't view Colorado as quote unquote the Bible Belt. Yet in so many ways, in terms of sports ministry, this place, and maybe I just feel this way because I've grown up here through the last 20, 25 years, it feels like in many ways, the nexus of the spiritual movement inside of sport. One of my coaching mentors is a guy named Rod Olson. Rod has written 3 books himself. He's been a part of FCA, and then he has his own organization called Coaches of Excellence. He does coaching development for the Pittsburgh Pirates and Texas Rangers, and I've had a chance to watch him from Colorado preach the gospel in professional organizations through what he does. Like you mentioned, Game Day, Valor, Complete Game Ministries, all these things are here in this South Metro Denver area, which is just, it's wild to me, all the things that happen here. And Valor's a big part of that movement. To comment on your question, because we are outward about our faith, we are clear about who we are, we get the slings and arrows, that's for sure. People have a high expectation of our kids, and if any of our kids slip up, then we get the email or the phone call that says your kids aren't behaving like Christians. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, what does that mean? I mean, a Christian is somebody who admits that they can't do life by themselves, that they need a savior. And so we don't hold them to this standard of perfection. We hold them to the process of trying to sanctify them through Jesus and through the teachings of the Holy Spirit through the Scripture. That's what we're trying to do. But do we get, our kids have to deal with those opposing kids who come up to them and say, God's not real, I'm an atheist, get out of my face. Do we have to deal with it? Absolutely we do. And we probably experience that more here. And it just makes it more ripe for great conversation than it would. And no offense to the folks in the Bible Belt, it's just it's easier. It's lower hanging fruit where, hey, yeah, you all go to church, you pray together, you do all those things, and we all live in that space, and that's fine. That's great. In Colorado, it's a little more of a battleground. It's a little more of there's more conflict that's out there, and there's higher callings in that, and being in that space that is a incredibly liberal state where marijuana is legal, and there's a lot of stuff going on. It's
a liberal and very progressive state, which the kind of the to juxtapose that versus the that conservative, that stereotypical conservative Christian, which, guess what? This can lead to debate and conversation, which is healthy, which is wonderful.
Yeah, that's right.
Very
I agree.
Cool. That might be the first time I said progressive, liberal, and conservative Christian on Travel Ball Talk,
right,
in the same sentence.
Yeah, no doubt.
Nonetheless, very cool. There's two things that at least two things that I want to touch on before you have to run. The first is Wellcoached, the book.
Yeah.
The second, and I'm looking at it online. You referenced it earlier, is the Baseball Guy's Bible Guide, and that's kind of a tongue twister. I got to tell you, I don't know if you did that intentionally. I'll say it again: Baseball Guy's Bible Guide. You can talk about them in either order, and maybe give us a preview of what those two different forms of content are, and what one could expect if they flip through it.
Sure. Well, I'll start on Wellcoached. I'll start on the book. Wellcoached was really birthed out of we had some parents who would say, okay, great, you're doing around the mound, but what are you leaving them with? And that really got my head running on, well, gosh, what could I give an opposing coach who wants to go deeper? What could I give another parent on the other team who really wants to go deeper in their faith with the game? And that's where a few years ago I wrote Wellcoached, and it's a coaching and leadership parable for anyone on their baseball journey that wants to incorporate and be more like Jesus on the field, off the field, and everything like that. And it has really 5 principles to it that are very simple. Love the way that you've been loved by God. Discipline the way that God disciplines you. Give grace the way you receive grace, and forgive the way you've been forgiven. And when you do those 4 things together, you're participating in the ministry of Jesus Christ and helping reconcile lost people to a holy God. And that's the principle, but it's all written as a baseball coach and his journey through that spiritual walk. And I've had a chance to. You're blown away by things that you write impacting other people, and that has been one of the greatest gifts I've ever been given. Though I gave it out to the baseball community as hey, this is something that might help you grow closer to God. It's really incredible for me to hear people say that they've been transformed by the book. And to build on Wellcoached, I'm working on my second book now. I'm going to say it's untitled right now, even though I have a title I'm pretty stoked about. What I did is I feel like God gave me this vision for what I'm calling the starting 9. So just mentioned love, discipline, grace, and forgiveness. And if you're thinking about those things in terms of a baseball field, those are your 4 infielders. Mm-hmm. Well, the second book talks about your outfield and then your battery. So it really breaks down to how you deal with different relationships. So the battery, the pitcher and the catcher, are freedom and perseverance. That's your relationship on your own, by yourself, and with God. I think God is constantly trying to draw you to higher levels of freedom so that you can really express who you are under his creation. And then the catcher, being perseverance, bumps in the road come up, and we've got to persevere through those. I see life in that regard as a constant ebb and flow between freedom and perseverance. Then that infield, as I mentioned, that's how you deal in one-on-one relationships. You've got to love the other person. You've got to give them grace, forgive them as they've been forgiven. And then if discipline needs to come up, use the biblical model of discipline, where you are to discipline someone gently. Paul talks about in Galatians. And you have the opportunity to deal with one-on-one people one-on-one in that regard. But then when you're talking about the team stuff, it's all about the outfield, and it's about unity, family, and others. UFO. It's almost one of those things where when you see it in another person or you see it in another group of people, you sit on the other side going, what was that? Just like if you were to see a UFO in the sky, you go, wait, what was that? That was something crazy. When you see people operating with unity and as a family and being others focused, it is one of the most amazing things you'll ever see. And I'm starting to flesh out all those ideas in the second book, where we have an opportunity to build on the ideas of that first book, Wellcoached.
Very cool. Very cool. I think that's a good idea. I will tell you, for those of you listening, Wellcoached is about 100 pages. Take you one or two sitting to get through.
Yep.
It's a pretty easy read.
Easy to consume.
Yeah.
And then the second thing you mentioned was that Baseball Guy's Bible Guide, and I took a little bit of time off. I've been writing for about 5 years every week, our bottom of the ninth devotional. And I took November and December off, and I just prayed for God to speak into what He would want me to share with the baseball world through that devotional. And I really felt like God was convicting me to say, connect more people to my word, connect more people to the Bible. And so what I did is I've started to, and I'm through. Let me double check. Yep, I'm through Jeremiah. So I'm just working through each book of the Bible, and I'm just trying to connect 3 baseball stories to 3 baseball ideas, things that you've experienced either in baseball history or that you've experienced on the field, to what the people in the book of 2 Samuel were experiencing. And so if you jump on the blog on CompleteGameMinistries.org, you'll see each of these offerings for the Baseball Guy's Bible Guide. And I start with one of the best pieces of content that I've come across, which is the Read Scripture Bible Project overviews of each of the books. They're anywhere from 7 to 9 minutes, and it just gives you an overview of what that book of the Bible is all about. And then what I do underneath that is I just connect 3 ideas from that book to 3 things that you'll see in the game of baseball.
Got it.
And it's really been a fun project, and it's one of those long-term projects where it's like, okay, I want to write one of these for each book of the Bible. I want to do each book justice by studying it well. I want to understand it, but then I also want to communicate it in a way that helps other people connect to the Word. And I mean, it's going to be a couple of years to get through that, but I can also see us, putting that into a published form as well, so people have those to use as devotionals also.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. The last thing you did bring this up, and I wanted to make sure, the bottom of the ninth.
Yeah.
You meant is that done in blog form, or how are you doing that?
Yeah. So I do post it on the blog on CompleteGameMinistries.org as a blog, but then I also have an email list that people can subscribe to on the website as well. Just a real quick, put your email in there, and
Gotcha.
Then they'll get that when we produce those bottom of the ninths.
Gotcha. This is fascinating stuff, man. This is why I'm glad I get to call the shots on Travel Ball Talk. I joke that I don't care if anybody's listening, because it's, this is all about me. This is all about me here. It's all about me learning from people that I want to learn from. That's why I got you on the show. So I appreciate you sharing with us. It looks like everything that you mentioned is all over at CompleteGameMinistries.org. It seems like that's sort of the hub for all things that are revolving around your world. Speaking of your world, do you see anything in the next 6 to 12 to 18 months? What direction do you see this thing going? What would you like to have happen?
Yeah, well, obviously going to dive deep with the kids here at Valor in the short term, but one of the things I would love to be able to do would be, whether it's with a USA Prime or whether it's with, a Game Day or a Slammers or whoever, I would love to be the chaplain of one of those organizations. And, you look at, USA Prime, if they've got 15 teams, if I'd have the opportunity to impact, where as a coach, you can impact your team and you can do it in a powerful way, but that's 15, 18, 20 kids.
Yep.
I'd love to be able to continue to influence hundreds of kids and help them understand that God loves them, that He is not here to condemn them, that He is here and He has saved all of them through through the blood of Jesus Christ, the perfect sacrifice that he was 2,000 years ago, and that the Holy Spirit indwells in all of us. And if I can help a generation of baseball kids know that, I feel like I've done good while being here. So, and again, just getting a chance to be around more coaches and more like-minded coaches who want to do that same thing is a great blessing. So that's what I would love to continue to do, is continue to spread the gospel of Jesus in the language of baseball wherever I go.
Well put. And I think that's a pretty solid spot to bring this to an end. Again, CompleteGameMinistries.org is where you can find everything. Tell me are you a big Twitter guy? I think you are.
Yeah.
What's the Twitter?
So Complete Game is on Twitter, as am I. I'm Coach Wahl 22 on Twitter, and we'll tweet and retweet between those two ministries on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and try to spread that content wherever I can. So.
Got it. And I'll link all of those when this hits the airwaves. It'll be at playinschool.com/Wahl. That's WAHL. So Keith, man, this has been a lot of fun. Time flew by. A lot of positive stuff, man. And in 2019, I think there's a lot of space to bring the positive. Man,
agreed.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I retweeted a tweet. The guys out there at Texas Premier, they do a really good job. And Jason Krug runs a lot of those tournaments out there at that awesome facility. I forget the name of. Well, one of his guys tweets out. It was like before the game started, and the PA system was blasting some music, and it was this couple. They were the only ones in view, the only people you could see, and they're sitting there dancing behind the backstop. It was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And I tweeted out with a comment that we're seeing a lot of negativity, a lot of fights at ball games.
Yeah,
like it's really crazy. And I said, listen, these kids are gonna, they're gonna copy what we're doing. And if we're dancing, they're gonna dance. And if you're fighting, they're gonna fight. And I can't even. I mean, look, I tweet a lot. That tweet got more action, got more likes, got more shares and retweets than anything I've put out there in months, because I think everybody connected with that thought. And so, I thank you for putting out the positive, man. Keep putting out the positive, and there's so much to be happy about, and there's so much to be thankful about, that I just feel bad for folks who wake up and they're angry or outraged about something, because there's a lot of good going on right now. You just have to be aware of it and look for that versus the alternative. So, man,
I would agree.
I appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk soon, man.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Thanks for your time.
All right, Rich. Bye-bye.
I'm having so much fun bringing these shows to you each week. If you'd like to recommend a coach for the show, please don't hesitate to shoot me a note at rich@playinschool.com or DM me on Twitter @playinschool. Again, my name is Rich Prado. I'm the founder of Play in School. My goal is to continue to create products and services that add value to you, the travel ball coaches, your players, and their parents. Visit playinschool.com to see some of the ways we're doing that. Or better yet, let's set up a call. Until next time, thank you for listening to Travel Ball Talk.